All right, so now we're getting into the Roman Republic, ancient Rome. And, I hope that you're really enjoying the readings right now. I think that I got the impression from many of you on Greece and going over Alexander the Great that you are really making connections right now that many that I think that I made when I first took this class myself many years ago, where the lights start coming on and you start seeing all these connections and things just make more sense as to why they are the way they are in the world right now. Whether we agree with the way things are, whether we think these things have been good or bad or great, amazing, terrible, whatever the case, it's all starting to make sense, I think, for many of you, right? And for things that are not, please, I do welcome you to even call or text or email, and to go over certain things. So I'm going to do like I did with the last lecture, which is that I'm going to kind of address certain things that aren't in the book. And so this chapter is really clear, really lucid. I hope that you give it a thorough read. So I'm not going to cover all of the things that are addressed in the text. I'm just going to highlight some other things. There's many different approaches I could take to this. A lot of what I want to talk about is going to be in the next chapter. But okay, so just a little bit to go into is the way Romans saw themselves. So again, this lecture is presupposing that you read the text first, okay? And so I just kind of wanted to give you a little bit of more of a pictorial idea of some of other aspects of Roman history. So they had their own legends as to their origins, like all people. We talked about the ancient Israelites and the Greeks and different groups that perceived their history to be a certain way, and the Romans are no different. So this is a story of twins that were conceived by the war god Mars with the daughter of a local king. And they were put into a basket that was then placed into the river Tiber. Isn't this interesting? The theme of children being put in baskets going down rivers. Remember that? We learned that with Moses and Sargon. Here it's a little different story, but there's still that theme, right? Now here they get rescued by a she-wolf. Moses gets rescued by the daughter of Pharaoh, and I think what is it? The Mesopotamian king. It was a shepherd, but again, kind of similar themes, right? A feel to it. Eventually, they're raised by shepherds. Also, Romulus killed his brother and fled, and on the banks of the river Tiber, he founds a village that would become Rome. So this is their seeing of their origins. And I mean, what a wild way to conceptualize the origins of your people, right? To one, be milking off of a she-wolf, and two, to have these two brothers having one kill the other. But that kind of gives you maybe an idea of something about how the Romans maybe perceived themselves and just the kind of ideas about war and being tough and all that. Anyways, so we're moving on. I wanted to talk a little bit also about the Etruscans, or give you also a little bit more pictures. They are at first Romans are ruled by the Etruscans, and Romans end up revolting and expel them. And so this, but they also had a lot of influence by the Etruscans, right? And I mean, you can even see in the art here, this looks very Roman, right? And by the way, isn't this like a very touching funeral sarcophagus, right? I just thought I would let you see that. But this is, I think, you can get, it has a very Roman art feel to it. That's all I really wanted to kind of say right there, actually. Sorry, I'll move on. Okay, so here's the map of what the world would look like in 600 BCE. So if you look in the text, we're kind of talking about things after, but I'm just reminding you that this part of the world, like many other parts of the world, changed a lot. So it's so easy to visualize now Italy as it is, and Greece as it is, and Africa as it is, but these things have not always been that way. So here we're seeing the Etruscans here in the north dominating. Here's Rome. See, here's the River Tiber. Then down here, the Greeks had colonies here, and we're going to talk more, of course, about Greek influence also on Roman culture later, but we can see that there already been contact there. And here in the Mediterranean, the the Carthaginians really dominate, the Phoenicians, okay, and we're going to talk a little bit more about them as well. So this is just kind of giving you a feel for that. Okay, so the Roman Republic is super, I was going to say super significant. Yes, super significant in that the idea of democracy that we have comes from the Greeks, but the idea of a republic and a senate, this really influences our modern forms of government the most. And I mean, I'm sure as you were reading this and you were hearing the word Senate, and we talked about Republican values, as in being of the Republic, not like Republican Party Republic, but this really, you can see how directly our government that we live in right now, the United States of America and other Western countries that are democracies, are actually democratic republics that are completely based on this Roman system. And so you had the idea of, again, not everybody could vote, but they had a type of openness, a type, not fully, not just anybody could vote, but you had adult male citizens could at least get their representatives in, even if not the issues, right? You could pick somebody to speak on behalf of you. The Senate was a chief institution. And so what's really significant here, and I think you got this probably from the reading, is that it's a society based on laws even rulers were at least hypothetically subject to. That's something we also value, right? I mean, in the United States, we know that hypothetically, if Obama as our president is driving and he's speeding, technically he can get pulled over and get a ticket. The president doesn't have immunity from laws, and you have debates. We've had presidents called into question if they should, like Clinton became had legal problems based on the question of whether or not he was lying. So that legacy is important. Now, in practice, we know that many people in power are able to get away with things, but it's not allowed. Now, in other systems of government, it was understood that a king, an absolute ruler, could do whatever they wanted. So that is something that we have seen in other parts of the world. Okay, and then they broke down some of the laws. Just want to talk about natural law. That's interesting because this is really the precursor to international law. And I think, to be honest, it's kind of problematic, right? It's a Roman vision of legal principles applicable to all societies regardless of time or circumstances. In a certain sense, this is what we have with international law now. But it's tricky. And I just want to get you to see the trickiness of this. I don't want to try to promote something one way or the other, because I have mixed feelings about the concept of international law. On one hand, it's a great way of trying to prevent global bad things from happening, but who gets to dictate that? I mean, so there's female circumcision in Africa, and that's considered a violation of people's inherent rights. But does the United States or any other entity have a right to go into that country and then stop that from happening? Or how does one nation become allowed to do one thing and say it's universal onto another. And that, I think, is always just going to be a kind of a problematic concept, and also appealing at the same time, because there's this idea of universal human rights. Sounds so right, but I don't know. Anyways, I just wanted you to think about that legacy that's debated even currently. I'm going to go back and cover some more of this in a second, and we'll move on.